But we know that most of you came here for one thing.
Todd Howard!
Thank you. I think it's to see where we're putting Skyrim next.
Todd Howard, you beautiful, beautiful, godlike individual. I swear, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Todd Howard is the only singular thing that keeps Bethesda as a company alive and successful. Now, don't get me wrong when I say that. Bethesda is my favorite video games company by far. I mean, there's a little argument with a couple other ones. I can't even remember the name of the freaking Tailworlds. The dude, I think Tailworlds is the one who made Bannerlord or Mountain Blade. I'm waiting for Bannerlord, so I got that in my brain. But anyways, Bethesda is one of my favorite companies and by far one of the best and most successful. As mainstream companies go, they're the only one I say out there that is pro-consumer and actively makes good content. You'll have a couple that are one or the other, but they're the only one that's got both of those. And add to that the rosy-eyed nostalgia of growing up, going over to my dad's house and playing Fallout 3 till 3 in the morning with my brother. Dude, Bethesda, they are probably one of my favorite group of individuals out there, I swear to God. But they're not very good with PR 90% of the time. They're not very good at understanding what the consumers want sometimes. They are, I mean, he even just joked about the Skyrim shit. They're putting Skyrim on everything. They're making some seemingly anti-consumer choices. Now, I'm going to assume, especially with the way he kind of laughed it off, that it's legitimately just misunderstanding or miscommunication between the consumer base and the company. Now, that's the thing, though. If I had never seen Todd Howard go up on stage and laugh at their own company on stage to the point where they hired freaking Keegan-Michael Key, or whatever the fuck his name is, Key, from Key and Peele, one of the best, most loved, and most top-of-the-line comedians out there, to make a skit making fun of his company, you know that they're self-aware, and you know that... See, the thing is, it makes you laugh while at the same time showing you that they understand the criticisms and they find them valid, to the point where they're going to laugh it off, but it doesn't make you stay mad at the criticism, even if they repeat the issue. And now that's the funny thing is, before it was Skyrim, it was the bugs. But like with the Skyrim thing, all the comment section was filled with, fuck, I'd buy that, the Alexa thing on the Skyrim on Alexa, and I think they're actually making that a thing now, if they weren't already, like, unironically, a Skyrim text-to-speech for Alexa. Like, that's the power that sort of charisma has, and I think Todd Howard is one of the few individuals out there who can properly convey that level of self-awareness and casual humor on such a professional level. Now, if you watch the rest of the entire E3 showing, you look at everyone else, even people who go up there and do panels all the time. They say two sentences, they wait for applause, they make basic statements, they're very corporate feeling and kind of egotistical, even though they're constantly nervous. And it's the games they were watching were cool, and I know a lot of the people up there, the producers and stuff, and I like them because the games they make and because they seem like cool people. But it was almost painful to watch because it felt like I was watching some bourgeois cunt talk to us about video games that, like, it felt very disconnected. But Todd Howard does not do that. Todd Howard is God Howard, as we call him. It just works. But, so, as you all probably could have figured out by now, E3 recently happened, and Bethesda, oh boy did they deliver. So, Fallout 76. Man, I don't think words could accurately convey how equally skeptical and excited I am for Fallout 76. Now, immediately, it's gotten like a shit ton of flack for being too cartoony feeling, or too MMO looking, or too... Well, Fallout 4 syndrome, and we'll get into Fallout 4 in another video, and why people don't like it, in my opinion. I do think it's a good game, but it's already gotten flack for the animation and art styles cutting so vastly away from the classic Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and honestly, while I understand where people are coming from, I don't. I think it's a good thing that they're doing that. Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, and even Oblivion and Skyrim, the level of buggy and Paperman sort of syndrome they had, it works for Skyrim and it works for Oblivion, but in Fallout, especially now that I've seen Fallout 4 and know how easily they could mix VATS with an actual first-person shooter like combat, it's almost impossible to go back through and play Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas for me. It hurts, you know. Now, going back through and editing, as I'm coming to you here from the studio right now, I just remembered that was the other thing I was wanting to talk about, was VATS in a multiplayer game. The biggest problem with Fallout 4, or Fallout in general, supposedly. I understand why people are scared of it, because, you know, VATS was you can stop time, and that's impossible to work into it. But I think that there will be VATS, and I think that it will work. I think what it's going to essentially be is how it was set up to seem like it was going to be in Fallout 4, which is it doesn't stop time, but you can actively select limbs and target them with a greater chance of hitting. So it's going to be like a sort of an aim assist that runs on stamina, is my assumption, although they might do it differently. But one way or another, they're not getting rid of VATS, guys. They're not going to do it. They're going to implement it, and I think they'll do it in a way that works and is fair. So don't be too scared on that front. Bethesda knows what they're doing when it comes to these things, although it might not be perfect the first time through, as they've shown with Fallout 4. God knows they've shown it with Fallout 4. But if it's going to be an online game, I feel like they're going to actively update it until it works. And they're not incompetent. They might be a little too experimental sometimes, but Bethesda knows what they're doing. So I'm glad that they're moving away from the Paperman, you know, cardboard cutouts, but I do hope it doesn't get like Elder Scrolls Online, another game which I'd have to talk to you for like another half an hour about why I don't particularly love it. I'm trying to make myself like it because I have a lot of friends that like it, but the combat is just unresponsive and boring to me. So I hope that they manage to make it more like Fallout 4 is, to where, you know, you pull the trigger and someone's going down, and even if it doesn't kill them, it's going to do some damage, and it feels like you're actively shooting a fucking gun, which is something that all the other Fallouts have. But the new world looks amazing, honestly. I can't say much bad about it. And while I am very skeptical, this is something that I've known was coming for a long time, or hoped at least. Ever since Fallout 3 and Oblivion, me and my brother and my friends who all played the game, we've always talked and speculated about what it would be like for an open world game like Fallout and like Oblivion that's kind of survival oriented, but is more about exploring and looting and stuff like that. What it would be like to have that multiplayer, even if it's just co-op, or even if it's just kind of like how in Dark Souls every now and then you'll get invaded and you fight someone. Even just to that level, it could be fantastic, and it could be god awful, but it's worth a fucking try in my opinion, because, I mean, as Todd Howard put it, he put it in words that I don't think you can put it better. We've always talked about, like, the experiences we had in these games, you know? There's always something in Bethesda games that makes you want to share it. But we've never had a Bethesda game where we can do that with other people. And I'm very excited for it, but I do have... My main skepticism is, again, I don't want it to be like ESO, where it's not very responsive in its own weird way, but I don't want it to be an MMO. I want it to be its own genre, which is what it's looking like it's going to be doing, so I can't say much bad on that. But I feel like the charm of it is going to lose itself once you've played through the game once already, because the main thing that it has going for it is, in my opinion, oh wow, dude, do you remember when we did that sort of thing? Or when you and your friends, or even you by yourself, stumble upon some unique, quirky new dungeon that Bethesda always loves having, or some unique quest line. And once you're done with that, I feel like the game is going to be Fallout 4 syndrome, where it's just fetch quests and the daily grind and leveling up. Now, that's actually not entirely awful, though, because it is going to be a bit MMO. Like, no matter what you do, it's going to have some MMO elements. But I want there to always be something new, and that's what it looks like they're doing with the nuclear missile sites. I fucking love it, by the way. I hope maybe they add some sort of, like, custom player factions or something like that you can do. But my other hope with it is that the multiplayer does not dilute the authenticity of it like it does in ESO. ESO has a lot of interesting and unique characters and quests and stuff like that that are really cool. Maybe not quite to Bethesda's standards, because, I mean, they didn't make it. But it's good stuff, you know? It has some good content. But there's just so fucking much going on in the game that it's hard to focus on it. I don't think Fallout 76 is going to have as much of that problem, though, because as they've already talked about, there's not going to be as many people going around. The variety of enemies, while it's interesting, might actually add to the chaos, and the variety of environments, I feel like it might be overdone to an extent. But so far, I'm excited. I'm very, very fucking excited. Just seeing how the guns work in the little preview where he gets invaded by Garvey and all that shit. It looks fantastic. The game, the graphics are standard, you know? They're not amazing, but they work. They're good. The environments look fucking fantastic, I will say. I'm a little skeptical about the settlement system, but all in all, I will say this is one of the 10% of games that I would highly recommend pre-ordering. And if I had the money, I would be buying the $200 special edition, but I'm broke as shit, so that's not going to happen. But as you all know, Fallout 76 was not the only thing that Bethesda brought to E3. And I'm not talking about Bethesda as a company, I'm talking Bethesda Game Studios, the people who make the Elder Scrolls and Fallout and all the good shit. No. They had more than just Fallout 76. I'm referring, of course, at least initially, to Starfield. Because it's fucking real, guys. It's actually real. There was a lot of other stuff, but for those who don't know what Starfield is, or was rather, I think there's been a few leaks and different things hinting at Starfield, but the thing that's got everyone excited about it was almost an April Fool's prank. Is that what everyone thought it was? A whole bunch of YouTubers, or well, a few YouTubers, content creators, and the like, started uploading videos on the day before April 1st, before April Fool's, and were talking about how Bethesda apparently contacted them and asked them to talk about their new upcoming game, Starfield. But it was very vague. All we really knew is that it was going to be space age slash exploration based, and that was it. And I hope you guys will have to excuse the fact that I'm going to be playing Fallout 4 footage based on my survival run that's custom mods and shit. Because there's only that brief trailer for Starfield, but they fucking confirmed it. They officially confirmed it. And I mean, what else is there to say? What else is there to do but speculate? What's Starfield going to be? I hope it's going to be what No Man's Sky could have been if they did it right. Now, when I say that, I don't mean infinite sandbox and cool worlds to explore and stuff. I hope that it's a relatively limited setting, but to the extent that there are lots of different planets you can explore, even if you can only explore certain parts of them, but where it's very open world and, well, again, exploration based. And I hope it is very much like the setting that Fallout 4 and Skyrim have been. Now, you might be saying that's hard to do, it's space age, there's spaceships and shit. That's why I hope it's good. That's why I hope they do it, because there's space age shit. Like, I hope it's to the point where you can explore, collect different alchemical ingredients. There's a lot of the inventory management and sort of stuff. But you have spaceships, so inventory management becomes different. I hope your spaceships are customizable. I hope that the enemies you fight, there's a wide variety. It's not just aliens or monsters, or not just space pirates and shit. Like, I hope they have a good variety. And then there's a storyline. I can't even begin to speculate as to the storyline because I don't know anything about the universe. All I can really say is that I hope for the type of setting, it's relatively lo-fi. Like, for a sci-fi setting, a space age setting, I hope that it's relatively down to earth and realistic, as Fallout's kind of been. You know, there's a lot of oobly-boobly kind of Deus Ex Machina shit in Fallout. But for the most part, the universe as a whole works realistically as operating around the setting. Like, okay, yeah, are nukes really gonna make ghouls and rad scorpions and shit? Maybe not. But everyone, the way people are in it and the way just the whole world adapts to everything, it feels very realistic, and I hope that's how they do Starfield. Other than that, there's not really a lot to say on Starfield yet. All I can really do is wait and hope. But there were a couple other things that were done. Little misc things like, well, you know, they fucking announced Elder Scrolls 6 because what the fuck, Bethesda? Oh my god. They didn't say a date or a time. They just said that it's a thing. They didn't even say the fucking name of it. They don't say where it's going to be. I guess there's a little bit of speculation to do there. I think it's going to be everywhere. I legitimately think that. I think it's going to be one of two places. It's either going to be Cyrodiil again, but in a bit of a different setting. Basically Oblivion redone with a new storyline. I legitimately... Because that's actually what a lot of people have been asking for, honestly. I also think that it's maybe going to be in Cyrodiil because all the other areas are hard to do with them being the only content. Somerset Isles maybe is a possibility. But again, it's disconnected from the rest of the Empire and the rest of the world, and Nurse of Tamriel, and like maybe Hammerfell or whatever the fuck, the desert where the Red Guards are from. But again, it's just disconnected from the rest of the world, and it's kind of barren. It's a desert. You know, you can only make a desert so interesting, and it can only last so long before you get bored of it. Even Skyrim had a lot of variety of different biomes and different cultures and the like. Cyrodiil, I think, would be the best setting. I think since they didn't say the release date, it's probably going to be at least a couple years till it's out. I hate to say it, but it's probably true. And that's part of why I think it's going to be the whole world. I think it's honestly just going to be to a scale that we have not seen before. And I think they wouldn't have teased it if it wasn't. You know, if it was just going to be another, oh, we're going to go to Cyrodiil or we're going to go to Skyrim, they probably would have waited till it's reasonably close to launch to release it. They'd probably tease it. Maybe the next big E3 or whatever, they'd show a bunch of game footage. I'm guessing they're not going to say anything about ESO, the new Elder Scrolls game, until it's almost ready. I think they're going to just tease it, get you excited, and just let the fucking hype go to the point where it's almost gone, and then they're going to release it. And I can only assume it's going to be fucking massive. That's all I can say. I just really hope that Cyrodiil's in it. Honestly, that's my biggest hope. And you might be saying, why? Well, I guess I can explain it to you the simple way and say bias, but there's just... Well, let me explain why I'm biased towards Cyrodiil. Now, obviously, the game that introduced me to Bethesda Game Studios and to Elder Scrolls, it was Oblivion. Oblivion was one of those games that you could pick it up and start playing it and immediately start feeling nostalgic without ever having played any other Elder Scrolls game. It's, even when I actively played it constantly, every little thing, even new discoveries, just gave you this feeling of rosy-eyed, nostalgic exhilaration and like a feeling of exploration. And I think the reason for that is because it's part of a genre that just doesn't exist anymore. It's a part of that fantasy genre where you're not the protagonist. You're just some dude. And you can get famous and you can have, you know, people know you. You can be the hero of Kvatch and all this shit. But in the end, you're not some guy with special magic powers. You're not even the main character of the story. That would be Martin Septim, really, who, you know, you help him and you save him so that he can play his part in the story and all that. But you're just some guy. And not only that, but you're just some guy in a massive feeling world. In fact, infinite feeling world, even though in the grand scheme of things, Oblivion wasn't that big of a game, at least not by modern standards. Now, for the time, it was quite huge, but that was mostly in terms of raw scale. The content, while there is an excessive amount of content in it, it's not there's probably less content in Oblivion than there was in Fallout 4, and my main problem with Fallout 4 was lack of content. Like, it's not just that there's a massive amount of content, it's the way it's presented. The characters are so likable and quirky, but at the same time they felt realistic. The entire world felt, again, quirky but realistic, and you felt like the only normal person in the universe, but at the same time, the weirdest one. And the part of the thing was, going back to the content of the game, wasn't that there was an excessive amount of content, which there was to an extent, but it was the way it was presented. You know, in Fallout 4, if you're not constantly doing something, then you get bored, and you go build a settlement, or, you know, you have to constantly have new content to keep playing the game. In in Oblivion, and to an extent in Skyrim as well, but I think Oblivion somehow did it better. The world itself was just so interesting that you could get lost in it for hours, just walking around a town and looking at stuff, hitting the signs with your sword and seeing how they bounce around, and experimenting and making new spells, or doing whatever your character does. It was something where you felt like you were an actual person in that world, not someone playing a game. Now, obviously there's the moments where you save your game and kill all the Imperial City, but it has this sort of not quite sandbox vibe, but it's something that's really hard to put words to, and I think that's partially because of nostalgia. You know, I probably, if I had played Skyrim at the same time that I played Oblivion, would feel the same way about it. And maybe it is, again, just bias and rose-tinted glasses, but it's just something about the way they presented it, where you're not this Dovahkiin, you have to kill the dragons, or you're not this whatever you're supposed to be in Fallout, which is funny, because Fallout, you'd think you'd be just some guy, but you're totally not. You're this hero who's got to have his nose in everything. But it's interesting how it felt right that your character could be the leader of the Brotherhood and the Mages Guild Archmage and all that sort of shit, and the champion of the Fighters Guild or whatever, all at the same time, where it doesn't feel like that in Skyrim at all. It feels very odd to be all those things while you're this pumped up superhero of a person from legend, but in Oblivion, you're literally just some guy who got saved at the last moment from a jail cell, you know? Or, well, not really at the last moment, that's more Skyrim's thing, but, you were given a second chance and you do whatever the fuck you want with it. And it feels that there's never a moment where you sit down and think, really, on top of, I've captured these dragons, as you see in footage right now, I've done all this crazy shit, now I'm gonna go and, I'm gonna run the Thieves Guild too. There was never any moment like that in Oblivion for me. You felt like a single solid character because you weren't a character. You were just another person in this universe. It's a very interesting way of presenting a game that I feel kind of reminds me, I think part of why I feel so nostalgic of it is it's a lot like pen and paper RPGs. It's got a lot of the old classic RPG vibe where your character is just one person in a party, you're not you have a lot of superpowers, or you could be super hyped up and special, but in the end it's not telling your story. It's you living as a character in that world. And I really hope that Elder Scrolls 6 can do that again. I'm going to have to make a whole video on why Oblivion is the best game ever, but that's for another time. There were other things, though. There was, obviously, Elder Scrolls Blades, which I have a bit to say on. Of course, they had to update Fallout Shelter, which I can't be mad at them for it. It got a chuckle out of me. But that was about it. But no, I think the main thing I want to talk about is Elder Scrolls Blades, and I think I'm going to have to wrap up the video after that because it's getting pretty long. There's some more I want to say, but Elder Scrolls Blades is probably the thing I'm the second most excited for out of this. Starfield obviously is fucking crazy that it's actually a thing, but honestly I'm not particularly surprised. Elder Scrolls 6 is fucking my favorite thing to ever happen to this world if it's going to be what I hope it's going to be like, but we just don't know enough about it. Fallout 76 badass, but Elder Scrolls Blades is actually an interesting idea. I like it. Like, I know a lot of people don't like Fallout Shelter. Like, he got booed when he mentioned it because it's like, oh, it's a mobile game, it's pay to win, and, well, yeah, it's a single-player mobile game. It's free. Calm the fuck down. It's not like they're investing all their time and effort into making it a thing. It's just a cheap, quirky little game. Now, Elder Scrolls Blades isn't even just a mobile game, though. It's completely cross-platform. It's a very unique idea. I love the art style. The graphics are good for a fucking mobile game. Like, holy shit, I'm guessing my phone's gonna overheat in 2 seconds trying to play it, but it's not bad, man. It looks like Oblivion, honestly. I'm excited, though. And the fact that it's free obviously means there's going to be some sort of microtransactions. Obviously. There's no way they're just going to give you completely free content and call it quits. But I think that Bethesda will handle it tactfully. You know, I don't think they're going to make it so it takes 10 days to build a building and then you speed it up for $1. Like, it's not going to be just complete pay to win. Maybe a lot of cosmetic stuff for your town that you can only get through that. Yeah, that's probably what it's gonna be, is a lot of cosmetics. Maybe some minor loot box style shit, but I feel like it's not gonna be a big deal. And for it being a free product, as unique and, well, frankly, badass as this is, I can live with a little bit of pay to win. And again, I'm marveling at the graphics. Well, honestly, I think they're better than Oblivion's if the style is somewhat simplified and a little cartoony, but it's a new spin for Elder Scrolls, and I'm very excited for it, and the fact that it's coming out this fall is very badass. I can't wait to do it. But for now, that's going to be the end of this video. We'll probably do one, as I said, soon on Elder Scrolls Oblivion and or Fallout 3, maybe New Vegas. I might do some other analysis of the other trailers and stuff from E3. I don't think I'll talk about Doom or any of Bethesda's other stuff, just because, honestly, I don't know enough about it. I've never really played those games. I'll let someone who actually knows their shit handle it. Maybe The Last of Us 2. I might actually talk some more political stuff in the near future, but I'm just not sure. I don't have a perfect topic. Maybe the Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump stuff. But I want to wait until everything's, like, fully known about what's going on and we have a little more certainty there before I make any in-depth commentary on any of that shit. But yeah, for now, I will see you guys in the future. Thank you for watching, and I hope that the relaunching of this channel, it doesn't become as much of a meme as the old one was. Please have mercy, guys.